Welcome to Contact Has Begun, brought to you by the grace of the World Puja Network, one of the last vestiges of truth concerning benevolent, spiritually and technologically advanced off-world visitors. Some refer to these visitors as our greater family of man or returning ancient ancestors. I am James Gilliland, your host, and our guests also include cutting-edge physicists, authors, teachers, and healers dedicated to the awakening and healing of humanity and the earth. Let the journey begin. Greetings, this is James Gilliland with World Puja. We've got another great show, and I hope everybody is faring well through these changes and these intense energies coming in. And we've got somebody we can talk about these intense energies. We've got Crystal Clark, and she's written Who Are We Really 101, Return of the Shaman. And it'll teach you the hidden truths of the past, the present, and the future of the human race, as well as the sacred science that creates a science that has been hidden from the masses for thousands of years. It's her sincerest hope that you will learn this sacred science so that you as an individual, while working with others from around the world, will be able to understand it and use it in ways that will forever change our future. The two most important things the sacred science teaches us is that whether we refer to advanced technologies or prayer, it's always the same technology because everything uses the same laws to function. And secondly, the pattern that leads to the creation of all things is also the path that we today refer to as enlightenment. It's always the same pattern, only the scale of things change. Anyway, her website, if you want to find out more, you can go to thesoulsociety.com. It's TheSoulSociety.com, and that'll be up on the site. So with any further ado, I want to welcome Crystal to the show. Crystal, are you with us?
I am. It's wonderful to be here.
Great. Yeah, it's wonderful to have you on the show. There's so many things we can talk about, and I know people really do need some tools right now because they are getting buffeted all over the place. And what I'm seeing, especially, with all the future stuff coming out and Nibiru and Element and I guess this is, the 22nd, I believe, today. And we're going to be, actually it's the 23rd. I'm a day off.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, if I can get within a day, I'm doing darn good, The best I can do is it's still summer, I think. Actually, we're turning into fall now, aren't we?
That's what the calendar says. I guess we'll see, won't we?
Yeah, I think yesterday we turned into fall, But anyway, I would love to get your take on maybe some of the things that you're feeling, people are dealing with, and if you wanted to comment too on some of these other energies that are unfolding.
Yeah, I think my view is somewhat different from a lot of others in terms of what ascension really means. And something that I really tried hard to do in my books is based on my own impressions of what that means. Not in the sense that we're all going to suddenly shift into or shift out of a reality, I should say, but rather it's kind of like the difference between looking at life through the train versus the spider web. And so many of us have spent our entire life in this one boxcar, and we could say that boxcar is our own personal home with our families. And for so many people, that's all that matters. That's all that they see is that tiny little piece of reality. But if we could kind of, very much like an out-of-body experience, and this is my impression of ascension, if we could rise up above it and look down on this boxcar, we would see for the first time there's more boxcars on the train. And then if we could pan the camera out even further, we would see that there are other trains. And at some point, we may even find ourselves in the control room where we're looking at all of the trains at the same time and having a very broad view of what's happening. And being able to look at it through the lens of these trains may collide if we don't do something, because we can see it at that level. And once we can see that there's more than what we've experienced there's a natural desire to want to experience it, to explore the other boxcars on the train. And so for me, that's what ascension means. It's not about, zapping out of here. It's about a greater awareness of what reality is and how much of it we've been missing out on because we've been so focused on this one little piece. And I think that's really important. And what I've noticed lately that I think is very sad, so I'm really grateful that you're giving me the opportunity to address it, is so many people have completely bought the idea that they will not be alive beyond 2012. And if we can look at that from the perspective that if we really believe that we are co-creators and we don't believe there will be any creation here to co-create beyond 2012, then who's doing the creating? And it's kind of like if we were having a tug of war and we could say one part of humanity wants the future to go one way and then the other part wants it to go the other way. And let's say you and I, which I think we are kind of on the same team, we would like to see what I refer to as Team Earth become a Type 1 civilization and expand out into the stars and meet our universal brothers and sisters and have those kinds of experiences. But imagine if somebody came up to us and said, well, give up, you've already lost. And then a bunch of people on our team walk away and they stop pulling. And I feel that happening. I feel that people are very scared, they're very unsure, and fear is very, very paralyzing. And we see it coming in so many different forms, right? 2012, the movie 2012, was a big, big problem for a lot of people psychologically, which is what these things are designed to do, is affect people psychologically. And then it's Elenin and Nibiru and the war from space. And I can tell you that in the last 12 years of all of my meditations, which were all geared towards how do we take the next step without self-destruction, never, ever, ever was I ever shown anything coming from the outside, that it's our job to fix it because the problem is here. It's here. And I think that we have to own that. And I think that if we can do that, if we can raise our consciousness and expand our awareness, then that's the precursor to the action, the desire to have a different experience, and then the actions naturally follow suit. Because I'm sure you would agree, excuse me, that if we lived on a planet where people were more aware and a little more conscious, so many of the things that are happening would no longer be happening. And I think that's the point. We want to get to that place where we will no longer accept manufactured lack. We will no longer accept a small handful of people controlling everyone else, and the genocide and the environmental degradation, because we understand that that isn't okay. So I want to encourage people to keep planning your future, because if you don't, somebody else is going to, and we need everyone who's seen this wonderful, beautiful future needs to hang on to that and begin to anchor that idea here into the collective consciousness so that we can begin working toward it together, rather than listen to anyone who says, just give up because you've already lost. And I'm pretty sure that if we had already lost, we would know.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's another side of the coin, too, that I'd love to get your comment on, because there's some people that are saying, okay, give up, it's doom, you know, there's no future. And then there's other people that are believing that everything's going to be done for them and they don't have to do anything.
Yeah, that's not going to happen either, and that's a very difficult thing to get through, too, because we do have large segments of the population that are waiting for the return of the Messiah who's going to fix it. And then we do have another segment of the population who believes that ET will come and fix it. Now, I can tell you that I personally believe with all of my heart that we do get help, that when we ask for it, we get it. But it has always, always been my experience that the help you get is how to help yourself. Mm-hmm. However, I do think that we've reached a stage where we gave our power away for so long, and things have escalated that I don't think that you and I would even be talking right now if we weren't getting help from what we would call our universal brotherhood. And you see that all the time out at your ranch. You've had spontaneous healings. So we do get help, and I think that we're at a place where we need it, and I think it's very imperative that we focus on moving from tribal man to universal man, because that is our destiny. And when we can do that, I think that we will get more help, because I'm sure you know as well as I do that there are people that are using technologies that they don't talk about. It's not necessarily underground, but it's definitely under the radar, especially with healing technologies. So, for example, you and I, we know about what John Hutchison did in the Gulf of Mexico to heal the water, but you won't see that on Fox News, and you and I probably couldn't go to any of our family members that are still kind of stuck in the matrix and explain that. They wouldn't understand it. But I think the other problem is because we have this shadow that pushes so hard to make sure that we feel like we can't develop these technologies, like we do need permission, that we're at a place where even the people that are using these technologies, which I often believe are the same technologies that ET would probably give us, I think that they're already here. But I think that because we can't use them openly and broadly, that they can be perfected in ways that would be very, very helpful. And I personally would like that help because I think that we need it.
I agree 100%. And, I know of those technologies. Actually, just today I stood on this machine that sent a frequency and a vibration through your body, and you could dial in every chakra, and it would just rattle that chakra and get things moving.
Wow.
Amazing healing technology. And it also would send rife frequencies through if you had any other issue you need to heal. Just some amazing technology, and not just the anti-gravity, but the counter-gravity. I've actually held that in my hand, and I know it works, and we do have it. But the scientist that tried to get it out, I helped him try to get it out, had some experiences, and I was part of that too. And they blew his lab up and threatened his family, and his wife almost had a nervous breakdown. And finally, everybody we turned to get help to get this out were not who we thought they were or who they said they were, and even they tried to steal it, some of them. So I was wondering about that. I go, the stuff is here, but when are we going to rise up and really, buck up and find the integrity within us to demand and support this and get it out there, get these technologies that can assist in the awakening and healing of humanity and the earth.
Yeah, I think that's another way that we're getting help, because it's definitely a numbers game. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, people would just refer to people like Tesla or Einstein, but the information is being seeded all over the planet in thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people, and it's spreading. So the wave has already started, and it's not stoppable. That's my honest opinion, that it's, so many people have the information, they can't stop it. Now, are they going to try? Yeah, I think they will, because I'm sure that if we viewed life the way they do, we would also try. But I think that's why it's so important for people not to give up, because it's coming from everywhere. I mean, it really is. You almost, for us especially, you almost can't escape it. You did a wonderful, wonderful show with Ralph Ring.
Oh, yeah.
He's still here with us, and he's got these pods that, I don't know if you've heard about that, these groups of people all over the planet that are trying to work on the technology and perfect it. And I think that that's really important, because it's spreading really fast. The fire has been lit, and the brush is very dry, and it's going to burn fast. Mm-hmm. And I think that these people, they need us, and we need them, because it is a collective. They need every ounce of our strength to share the information, whatever we can do, so that the fire burns faster to make it happen. And I think it will happen.
I agree. I've told them, the people that are working to get this these technologies out, I give them a standing invitation. Hey, if you've got a major breakthrough, or if you have a problem or whatever, and you need to get some help and get it out there, I said, just give me a call, and we'll air it and put it out on the list and do whatever we can to get this information out. And I've done that all my life, basically trying to get this information out. But it's I think the walls are coming down. The resistance was so entrenched that there was really no way in the past to get this out. But now I'm really feeling, if some of these things I'm hearing about are true, and this cabal is being pushed into a corner, and the masses are waking up, it looks like it's just around the corner.
Yeah, I think so, and I would add to that if what the rumors we hear about people at levels in a particular sphere of influence working to take down this cabal, if that is not happening, it should be happening. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very important. So even if it's not true, the story is feeding the idea into the consciousness of people who can make it true. And I really hope they're listening.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
We need them. We need them, and they need us, because there's a magnificent, mind-blowing future just right out of our reach. And so I think this is a terrible time to give up and not keep pushing for it, because we're not going to get it any other way.
I agree. I have that old saying, that, they say we are the ones we've been waiting for. I always tell people we're the ETs we've been waiting for. And, we've already invaded the planet through the soul, and through incarnating. And also, too, I said, the ETs will help those who help themselves, So, I don't really like that word ET or alien.
I don't either.
Refer to them as the greater family of man, and they're very tied into the masters that we knew of the past and interact with them as well. So, we need to drop that old demonizing little bug-eyed, EVs and realize there's a much bigger picture.
Yeah, I think so. There's a I wouldn't really call him a researcher per se, but a very interesting individual who refers to them as our extended family, and I think that makes more sense. And it's important for me, whenever I find information, and I don't care where it comes from, if I feel like it can be helpful, I'm going to share it. And this particular individual, his name is James Horak. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
It sounds familiar, and I might be scheduling for a show. I'm not sure. We'll see. I know the name sounds familiar, and the producer is looking at, people to bring on the show.
Oh, right. Well, he talks about the EMVs on the sun and how they farm the energy so that we don't experience a CME. They are another level of collective protection for humanity, which, their job is to protect sentient life on the planets that they occupy. And I can see why that would happen, because I think it's already happening at other levels, like we just talked about. I think that we're getting a great deal of information seeded so that we can use it. But something that he said that really helped me find clarity with some of our past, because we know that humanity has been dealing with the extended community for a very, very long time. And what we don't find is any type of references to alien invasions or anything unusual, although we do know that there has been interference at some point, and that I think we're seeing some of that interference again now. Mm-hmm. But he makes a very clear distinction between an EBE and an ET, in that EBEs are not sentient, they're like machines, and that they're actually hunted by the extended community because they are so problematic. Mm-hmm. And this is where my labs come from, and that in fact most abductions are these critters, which we call grays. Mm-hmm. And that makes sense to me, because it has always been my impression that joining the extended community, which is our destiny, will require us to leave all of this nonsense behind. I don't see how we can get there any other way, because if we're going to continue down the road that we're on, that has only one final outcome, and we will not be able to take that next step. So if we look at it from that perspective, it doesn't make sense that ETs or the extended family would have made it if they themselves couldn't survive their own technology. And so the idea of hostile ETs is something that has never really resonated with me, but I never could get past the idea that we know there's interference of some kind. And I think that's really the problem, is that it's not the extended family, it's the EBEs. And of course, you know, that's who our government is working with. And they were given technology in exchange for what the EBEs wanted. And that's not really helping us out, is it?
No.
I don't think ET would have, or the extended family, would have given us that technology, because they understand that you don't give matches to a 5-year-old. I don't think they would have done that. So I think that
there was kind of an agreement made that we had a choice between the benevolent ones who said, hey, we're not going to give you this technology until you get rid of your nukes and choose peace.
Right.
And there was a lesser group that came in that was not very evolved and said, hey, just let us snag a bunch of your people, do some experiments on them, and we'll give you all the technology you want.
Yes, and James Rock throws a little bit of a different spin on it, and it added a lot of clarity for me, because the two different groups, according to him, one was the extended family and one was the EBEs.
Mm-hmm.
And the EBEs were created by another race that has literally ascended and kind of left them to their own, and so they're very problematic. But because they are not sentient and they do cause problems, they are destroyed by ET. Mm-hmm. But they have found a refuge here on our planet. We have given them that refuge. And so, for example, if EBEs have a human on one of their ships, it will not be fired on by the extended community. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
So it does make me wonder if the hybridization program is a way of extending that protection, right? Because if they could, and I don't know if they can, maybe they just think they can, and that's what this is all about. If maybe they believe that if they could create a hybrid, it would be sentient, and then they wouldn't have to hide anymore. Mm-hmm. And the EBEs, and I didn't really recognize this until I did some research into Carla Turner's work. Are you familiar with her?
Yes,
Where she mentioned having a few different people in the same room, but only one person saw something and the rest of them didn't see it. So there was a way to alter what an individual perceives as happening. Not that it is happening, but that the individual believes that it's happening. And I think that that's something that really throws a kink into the hostile alien invasion thing, because if EBEs can make you see anything you want, then they can implant the idea that it is an ET when in fact it's not. So that does kind of change the dynamic quite a bit. But I really just do not believe that humanity has to worry about a hostile alien invasion from the extended community. But if people don't know the difference between an EBE and the extended community, because if you ask anybody right now, draw me a picture of an ET, what will they draw?
Yeah, they'll draw a little bug-eyed gray, and I know a lot of our black ops and are in cahoots with these little EBs, and I always tell people you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to go out of our atmosphere, to find some very aggressive, non-compassionate people out there that are doing some crazy things.
That's for sure. And during the research that I did for the first book, I came across sources that made it clear to me, at least that was my impression, that EBEs can be created by anybody who wishes to and can. Anybody can create them if they know how. And, of course, we've had whistleblowers come out recently and say that they've seen entire rooms the size of football fields underground, in these underground bases full of these beings being grown. And so I'm thinking that's probably going to play into the hostile ET invasion because, again, most people think that an EBE is an ET, but after, listening to James Horak and his accounts, I think that we've really got that part backwards. And I think that, of course, if our government is working with EBEs, that's why we have it backwards, right? So that kind of makes a lot of sense. But I think that this is just an extraordinary, extraordinary time to be alive. I mean, I meet people all the time, and I know that you meet them too because some of these people actually know you, and I kind of met them behind the scenes that are just working on wonderful, wonderful things. And we have a responsibility to our race, the entire Team Earth, to make sure that we work tirelessly to get this technology out. And it will take a lot of people to do it. And so, again, I hope people will just take a nice deep breath and forget all of the it's too late material, because if it's too late, when it's too late, we're going to know, and we clearly are not there yet. So I just think people need to recenter themselves on what kind of a world do you want to live in, what next step would you like humanity to take, and how can we get there and keep the eye on the prize.
Yeah, exactly. It seems now even today, it is the 23rd of September, and we're feeling just a huge amount of energy coming in. We've been feeling this for the past couple of weeks, and people are having a hard time adjusting, with these energies. And, I know it's part of the vibrational lifting, the awakening healing process. And we're actually seeing on my screensaver right now, I'm actually looking at, galactic core here where this massive bubble just erupted of infrared and X and gamma rays and coming from the center of this galaxy. So, I mean, that's going to create a shift. I don't see any way around it. We are going to go through a huge shift, and it seems like a galactic shift that we're going through. It's much bigger than just this little solar system, and all the planets are reacting to this shift. It's a measurable shift of energy that's coming in. So I just see it's not anything to be feared. It's a good thing. Yes, there's going to be some changes that are going to come with it, but with this ninth wave, this unity consciousness wave that seems to be zipping through us and shifting everything and compressing time, I'm watching things unfold and processes that would have taken years and years and years that are happening in just days.
Yeah, that's really cool. I know. I really like that. Yeah, it's happening really, really fast. That's for sure. And there was something that Dolores Cannon had written once about a past life regression that I think is also part of this. In that there was because we've had many, many episodes where we self-destructed, and this was the last few minutes of a previous destruction episode that was very similar to what we're seeing now in terms of the type of technologies being used that alter the atmosphere, especially. And this individual going through the session explained it's all, all the abundance, it's all gone now. And she said, and we have to go to sleep for a while. And originally Dolores Cannon thought she meant that they had to, from a cellular level, go to sleep until the planet healed and the souls could again enter the equation. But what she eventually came to understand was this was more about the knowledge going to sleep. So when things start over, I think what happens is we may see it. It's a spiral, but it repeats. But if we were looking down on this spiral with it very wide at the top, spiraling down to a point at the bottom, in terms of the repetition of the cycles following the spiral, if we were looking right down on it, it would look like a record. And there are kind of like grooves in this record. And I think that every time we start over, we start very small, and we retrace this record, and the cycles repeat so that we can be given the opportunity to make different choices this time. And I think that there are energies coming in, but I also think that where we are on that spiral is what's exposing us to them, giving us the opportunity to have that experience again. And so it's a very, very exciting time to be alive, because we are right there. 1,000 years ago, we were at a different place on the spiral, and as we continue to, we're all like little needles on this record, and we're going around, and it's all coming back. It's coming back really fast right now, and it's incredible. It's just a very, very incredible time to be alive, and so I think people have a lot to look forward to, but I think that we collectively have to make it happen. So I think that there's a lot of things going on, that's for sure, but I think that they are good things. I think that's their purpose. What we have to do is continue that wonder and push it forward so that someday you and I will be sitting in our rocking chairs when we're old and gray, and our grandkids will tell us what a wonderful time they had on Arcturus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm planning on not doing the old and gray. I'm going to skip that one. I'm seeing the same thing. I really do see, I believe in the Native American prophecies, and I've hung out with a lot of them, and I'm part, Cherokee myself. But, listening to the prophecies, they all talk about the star nations. They all talk about the beast, consuming itself and collapsing in on itself. And they all talk about, the Earth going through a very fast healing process and reunification with the star nations. So basically, that seems to be a reoccurring theme in all the ancient cultures talk about this, and it seems to be unfolding, as we speak.
Yeah, I think so, and I also think that a lot of the manifestations that we're seeing in the sky, people are seeing more. And that's an indication that we're growing a lot too, because the psychic blocks aren't there anymore, which is really interesting, because I had an unusual experience with my husband when we were young, where we were out late one night and I saw this huge white ball. I don't know what it was, to be honest, but it was huge, and it was glowing, and it flew right across the sky, right over our heads, and it lit up the sky. And I looked at him and I said, "Did you see that?" And he had no idea what I was talking about, absolutely no idea. And that was the first time I realized what a psychic block was. So I think that a couple of different things are happening, and I think they're both very exciting. And the first one is that the blocks are not there as much as they were. And I think that the extended community showing themselves to us is also helping to facilitate that, because we have so many things happening here that are not okay. Mm-hmm. And if we get locked into the idea that it will never change and that just hurry up and get it over with, which I'm hearing a lot, when they manifest to us, what they're telling us is, look, you could be here. It was like those postcards, right? Wish you were here? That's kind of what they're doing. They're saying to us, there's more, so strive for it, because it's a lofty goal.
Yeah, I agree. There's I call them the cosmic cheerleaders. They're coming around, and they've demonstrated some things with us. One, we had a whole crew here come up from LA and to film the events here, and this huge ship just powered up and flew right over us. Everybody jumped up and said, "Oh my God!" They're all pointing at it. "Did you see that?" And they're all excited. The crew was looking right at it, and they didn't even see it. They could not see it. But they said, we saw everybody jump up at exactly the same time and point up. Everybody saw it. They interviewed the people. They all saw the same thing. But these guys did not see it. And in observing that and others, I see two people standing side by side, and one will see this massive power up and something happen, and another one doesn't see it at all. They don't see anything. And they even sabotage their own sightings as well, because they're always doing something else, or, going off and getting something out of the car, going to the bathroom, and, things. They're always like off somewhere else when the events happen. It's almost like psychically they know how to sabotage, their own their own experience. It's quite interesting. But the most interesting one I saw was that we had about 9 or 10 people all in a row. And I was filming this event that landed on the mountain, and it was blinking at us, and flashing. It was huge. And what happened was I said, well, check it out. It's flashing like crazy. And the people on my right didn't see anything. The people in the middle didn't see anything. But the people on the left are going, oh, yeah, look at that, look at that. And they're getting all excited. And then all of a sudden the people on the left go, it went out. It went out. And the people in the middle are going, oh, no, I see it. And they go, now I see it. I see what you're talking about. And the people on the left are going, no, there's nothing there. It went out. And then it went out to the middle group and did the people on my right and showed itself to them. And it did this for probably maybe 20 or 30 minutes, going back and forth and selectively choosing who could see them. And when I saw that, I was just blown away how they can actually open a window to the group there, and choose who sees them and who doesn't see them. And also, too, the old saying, I'll believe it when I see it, is backwards, because you need the neural net. Your brain chooses what you see.
Right.
If you don't believe it and you don't have the neural net there and you don't want to see it, you're not going to see it. That's neuroscience. It's been proven over and over again that if you don't have the capability to see some, or the neural net, or even the, being open to accept it as being a reality, you don't see these things. That your brain chooses not to access that out of billions of bits of information that's coming through your eyes, which are actually seeing other dimensions at the same time, but you're just, phasing them out or closing them out because they're not useful.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And Ralph Ring talked about that too when he had his aquamarine dream experience. And he was told before he left on that little excursion that the mind will edit it out because the body mind can't understand it. But I think that's changing. And, I heard once that in Asha astrology there were 16 houses and not 12. Mm-hmm. And I do sometimes wonder in the back of my mind, if we've closed off so much, that what if there were planets that we couldn't see? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, in the infrared there might be a massive planet sitting right there that we can't see in the infrared.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Not even know about it, and it could even cruise right through ours, and nobody would be aware of it just because it's on the next frequency.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so cool about the walls coming down, because we are saying to the universe, we are ready to experience more. But we're also saying to the universe, we are ready to take the responsibility that is required for us to see that, to get there. And I think that's important too. I know from my own view, it is somewhat frustrating because there does seem to be such a huge split in consciousness in people, in that you have one particular group that is just action, action, action. And then you have the other side, which is, no, just meditation, prayer and meditation. But man is a creature that walks between the worlds. We have one foot in both worlds, and there's a reason for that. And so I think it's really important that we try to reunite those two and recognize that meditation is very, very important, and it has its place, but so does action. I think that action is also very important, and of course that split in consciousness in the actual people on the planet is also a reflection of the left brain and the right brain not communicating. Mm-hmm. And meditation, that's what's so great about meditation, is it does help remove that block. And I know for me personally, every time I would meditate about something, I would be given the information that I needed to do something about it, the proper way to handle it. And I think that it's kind of like if you and I wanted to be professional knowers, we don't think we have to actually take action, and we spend all of our time trying to gather all of this information, and one of the bits and pieces that we get says, well, you need to water your plant or it's going to die. And we say, oh, yeah, okay, but we don't ever actually do it, and the plant dies. it's literally the same as never having the information and letting it die anyway. So I think that's a very important bridge that needs to be gapped, for sure.
I see that a lot. I see people that just talk, and I remember years ago this guy came up to me. He says, I don't have to do anything. I was talking about all the hard work that went into the ranch here and to build the center and all the work that came in here. And he goes, well, I don't have to do anything. He goes, all I have to do is just focus on it, and it's going to manifest, and everybody's going to do it for me. And I said, good luck with that. It's like, and I just said, words without deeds are dead. You've got to do your part. That's the first law of miracles, is basically you got to do everything in your part possible, and then the miracle happens. You can't just sit back and wait for everything to be done. And I've seen that here. I mean, there's people that were, one guy in particular, he was in the hospital. He had a tumor, bleeding ulcer, some very serious things going on, and he just felt he was being written off, and they were telling him end of story. And he actually checked himself out of the hospital against all of them, said, I'm not going to do these therapies anymore, and they were pissed. They were angry, called a taxi, and he met them down in the front, and cruised up here and threw a tent out in the middle of the field. And his belief and his focus and his will were all aligned, and he acted on it, and he went back to see his doctor, and everything was fine. He had a total spontaneous healing. And I always tell people I don't take credit or blame for anything that happens here.
You're right.
But it was amazing. But I've seen, get off your butt and do something, and don't expect Spirit or Jesus or whoever to come and do everything for you. If we're walking forward, we're going to have somebody behind us or above us helping us, to get to our destination, whatever that may be.
Yeah. It's the divide and conquer game, I think, is rising to new limits. New heights. And
yeah.
I see it infiltrating the spiritual community and the metaphysical community, and it's not over until it's over. And I think that we can do it. We always could do it. The previous cycles that we've been through didn't have to be repeated. Oh. All we had to do was learn the lesson. And I think that we can do it this time, because we could have done it any other time, but it does feel like we are getting a little bit more help this time, that's for sure, because I don't know that we could have gotten this far without it. But the rest is up to us. And I think that's what makes it exciting, because for the first time, we are recognizing it's our choice. It's not somebody else making the choice for us. We have the ability to make those choices on our own. And I'm always so proud of people that I see choosing, because that's how we get there. We have to choose to.
Yeah, I agree. I see over and over again, people, I said, well, are you a willing participant, in the problem, or are you going to be part of the solution? It's really that simple.
It is, yeah.
If you're, the golden rule is so simple, don't do anything to anyone you wouldn't want to have done to yourself. It's so basic. And if you applied that rule, I think about 90% of our entire government would be null and void, And every other agency out there that is controlling and manipulating and, expressing power over others rather than service, they become very self-serving, little mini Napoleons, out there that have these positions. And that's what we've been running into here, with the county here. But what's interesting is the entire community here is behind us. They're totally behind us 100%. And there's just one or two little Nazis, that are creating all these problems, that are totally out of alignment with the will of the people. And we seem to be seeing this over and over again.
Yeah, I do know a little bit of the history of your situation and what's going on there, and it was so awesome that people gave you what you needed to fight that battle, and that's very much what I think the universe is asking of all of us is see a need, fill a need. If you see somebody trying to do the right thing and they're in need, give them what they need, because every time we raise someone else up, it raises the entire culture of our entire planet up that one notch. And that's really important. And the fear is just, it's so overwhelming right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I really don't know why, because we're so close. And I think people just have to stop listening to that. Anybody who says, well, it's too late, you can't do it, you're all going to die, it's not going to happen, the earth is going to explode.
Yeah.
Well, whom does that serve? Whom does that serve?
Yeah, exactly. I have a hard time agreeing. I mean, I've had people on the show and people come up here and give talks, and they'll have a lot of really good information. I mean, amazing information with the little spin, on the back that, it's toast time. There's going to implode and nobody's going to live through this, and we're all going to I guess, leave the body or something or go to the fifth dimension. But I just don't see that. I don't see the earth. I see the earth as continuing. I see her as healing. I see her as moving up in frequency and vibration, definitely. But I just don't see it, exploding into a million pieces or becoming so inhospitable that nobody's going to be left. I mean, those scenarios just don't work for me.
Yeah, they don't work for me either, and I've heard you use a similar phrase, but basically the idea is that the universe always says yes. So if we are going to collectively say, yeah, it's okay to keep killing off all of our food supplies, and the genocide is okay, and the manufactured lack is okay, if we're not actually going to do something to change that, then we are agreeing to that outcome, and that's the outcome that we'll get, because the universe always says yes. But what's so awesome, I think, is how many people are no longer saying yes to that. Mm-hmm. They know it's not right, they know it's not okay, and they know that there are alternatives. And that's what I love so much about shows like yours, and especially you, because you're in a very unique position with your ranch, because it's not just that you can share information to give people what they need to know that there are other choices. Because in many respects, what we have going on is a free will war, because people think they're exercising free will, but they have not been given all the choices. So it's always a wonderful thing, yeah. It's a wonderful thing whenever people do radio shows and expose things for what they are, at the same time giving alternatives so that people don't get trapped in the fear and know, okay, I have this other choice. But your ranch sounds like such an amazing place. You have all of this contact going on with the extended community, the greater brotherhood of man, and I hope that we get to a point, I would hope within the next 5 years, where that's happening all over the place, because it's time for us to take that next step. And it's so great that people like you get to do that first and kind of warm people up to it so that it's not so scary,
It is quite an experiment, and it is scary for some people, because the way we operate here is that, everybody is sovereign, and we're all, creating a reality here, and we're co-creating, an experience as well. But, there's really no master teacher here, and everything I know I share with everybody else, hoping that they will go further with it and exceed, what I know and my abilities as well. So it's a whole different element. Nobody is told you have to go here, you have to do this. It just organically synthesizes or flows, and things get done. And every once in a while we have a little glitch here in the system or whatever, but, as we're working it out. But, the more people are in harmony and working together, everything just flows.
Yeah, that's true, and I'm also so excited about how many people are finally asking the question, why am I here? Because we hear so many people talk about karma, but what about dharma? Mm-hmm. And that's something that I focus on a lot in my work, because we didn't come here to just take. We came here to give. And what I've seen is that every single dharma that every person on this planet has, and everybody came here to contribute something. And no one thing is ever more important than the others. They're all necessary. But what I see is part of the problem that we have is that we have not tried to discover what that is and then give it to the collective. And if we don't do that, we're depriving the collective of that beautiful gift, and I think that's where things can start to begin to get a little disturbed, the disturbance in the force, if you will. But so when people say, well, what do? I just say, well, I don't know what you came here to do, but collectively I think that we can agree on what needs to be done. I think that's, if we could just start at that one place, and then everybody just naturally flow into the position that they were meant to take. I think that's when the real magic happens. And it's like dominoes. You know, you see one person get activated and they come out and they do what they were supposed to do. And for some reason, that one person will activate 10 more people. And then those 10 people activate 10 more people. And it spreads really, really fast. And I know a lot of people are losing their jobs, but a lot of those people are also understanding that that's an opportunity to go back to source and the true self and find a way to, you know, have more meaning in their life and give. If we could just give, that would change a great deal.
You know, I always ask people, well, were you happy? And they go, no. Was there any joy in your life? No. Was there any love, you know, with your companions in your office or where you're working? They said no. And I go, well, then why are you there? You know, it's that it doesn't work. You know, that program doesn't work. And so if you simplify, you know, you could be out in nature, you could be working in your own gardens, you could be with friends and family and live a very spiritual, wholesome life close to nature, and that does work. I mean, that has a proven track record. So why not try that approach, you know? But then they go, well, I have my car payment, I have my house payment, I have my whatever payment, you know, I've got the kids in soccer, you know, I've got you know, all these other things. And I said, well, get your kids out on a river or something, you know, with a fishing pole, or just have them build little huts along the river or creek, or let them catch some frogs. You'd be surprised how much how easily they will be entertained when you get them out in nature and just shut off that boob tube. They don't need all those things, you know, that they're told they need to play with or be happy.
That's for sure. And most children will tell you they would rather be out in nature.
Oh yeah.
If you gave them a choice between the mountains and soccer, most of them would choose the mountains. I mean, they would. And why wouldn't they? Because, you know, games like that I'm not a big fan of anything that's competitive, because it instantly applies me against you.
Exactly.
And I don't particularly like sports for that reason. So I think in that sense, it's got to be just so nice as a child not to have that forced on you to, you know, play on a team against someone else, when you can just go out into nature and feed the squirrels and catch the lizards and, you know, put your feet in the creek when it's hot. And I think we're all missing that. And I know you've seen it, especially since you did that show with Ralph Ring, but so much of the really wonderful knowledge is coming back again in terms of natural laws. Oh, yeah. And that's really important, because I believe deep down in my heart of hearts that most people on this planet genuinely want to do the right thing. I think that we just don't know how anymore. You know, we have the phony green movement and the carbon taxes and all of this other really complete garbage. But people join those organizations because they genuinely want to make a difference, and they don't see anybody else trying. As, you know what I mean? They don't know that there are other choices. And so the awakening, I think, is really about telling as many people as we can in whatever way we can, there are not only other choices, but there are other choices out there that will blow your mind. We haven't seen anything yet. Absolutely nothing. I swear, we're in kindergarten. We have a long way to go, and I think it's going to be really wonderful.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and he was saying, you know, I I'm raising my car up. I'm going to get this device. I'm going to put it on my car, and I'm going to get 25% better gas mileage, with these water technologies.
Right.
And I told him, I said, if you shop around, you can find a system where you can run your car 100% on water, but, they're hard to find. You have to really do your homework. But I said, let's go further than that. I said, what about a car that doesn't need any fuel at all? With these other fuelless energy, zero-point energy technologies.
Yeah.
That let's take the next step. What about a car that didn't need tires? And let's go from anti-gravity to counter-gravity. Let's talk about a car that will go 7,000 miles an hour almost instantly. And you could get up in the morning and have breakfast in Australia, people are they're just taking these little mini steps. And I tell them, I said, the big step is there. It's always been there, but you've been forced into taking these little mini steps. And what I see, the mini steps are over. I think we're going to go not go from A to Z anymore. We're going to probably take a couple skips along the way and get to Z.
I think so too, because I'm sure you see it happening. It's happening already, but I think it's also happening because it has to. I don't think that baby steps are going to cut it at this point, because we have a lot of things going on that really are time sensitive, and I'm not saying 2012, believe me. I know that there will be life well beyond 2012, but what my focus is on is what the quality of that life will be like. That's the focus. Is we're going to be here for a while, so I think that we need to take that time and do something really meaningful and mind-blowing with it, because that was always the plan, right? We forgot the plan. And wouldn't it be cool if you could just, if I could just hop into a little machine on the corner here in Las Vegas and then pop out on your ranch and not even have to take a UFO anywhere, and I could just be there.
Exactly.
No more disease. I mean, people don't know that's possible, and that's a very, very horrific thing to hide from people,
I see the kids, the little kids in these cancer wards, and knowing they'd have a 400% better chance at surviving cancer not using the chemotherapy and the other technology, the radiation treatments and things, and watching them just torture these kids, for the check, so they can make their payments, their boat and Mercedes and whatever payment. But, and that being okay, that being accepted when there's inexpensive cures that I've seen work over and over and over again, and it makes no sense whatsoever. And especially, we've had the cure for cancer since 1927. With Otto Warburg gave us he's a triple Nobel Prize winner. And basically what he said is, cancer hates oxygen. It's anaerobic. All you have to do is raise the pH of the body, the blood, and also get the oxygen in the system. And it backs right out of there. But they actually totally kill these kids' immune system and radiate everything, and whatever's left, if it comes back to life, you get whatever made it through the process, and then you're going to have antibiotics all your life from then on out, probably. But it's just insanity to do that to children. That's the most heinous thing that I can ever talk about. It's just not right,
Yeah, and I think that, I know people say, well, let's not talk about the negative stuff, because if we talk about it, we're supporting it. We are so far beyond that because other people are supporting it, and we are not unsupporting it.
Oh, yeah.
That reality is already here. It's not a matter of, well, we can't talk about it because we'll create it. Somebody else has already created that for us. It's our job now to uncreate it, and I think that's important. And in order to do that, it's like a wound. If you have a wound that's infected, that it needs to be cleaned out. But to say, no, I don't want to see that, I don't want to look because it will hurt. Well, yeah, it will hurt at first, but then it heals, and you get on with your life. And that's really what has to happen. And it's true, I know that certain researchers, they all have their own view of, well, should you try to wake people up? Shouldn't you try to wake people up? But I think that you and I would both agree after some of the conversation we had that you can't wake people up if they aren't ready, because there's a psychic block there. It won't happen. They have to choose. Yeah. And then when they choose, they need to have somewhere else to go. They need to have other sources of information. They need to be able to see. And also, like you were saying a moment ago, you also have to kind of believe before the psychic block can be removed. And I think that's a big part of it too, because whether or not people wake up because of what we share, we are not really responsible for beyond the idea that we shared, because people are certainly never going to act on information that we never gave them.
I agree.
That's really important, of course, but I think that if we could just get people to understand that we don't need to have this kind of death. There shouldn't be cancer. There shouldn't be any illness. We shouldn't have any illness at all on this planet. We've had what we needed, and there's multiple ways to do it, and that's the other thing, you know. Somebody may say, well, you know, the rice machine is the only thing that works, or eating organic food is the only thing that works, but it all works. So people have many different choices to choose from, too, but getting the information out that they do have choices, I think, is what's important.
Yeah, that is the main thing. Most people don't even know they have a choice. They just go with the herd, and they're not making educated choices because they're doing all they can to squash the educators that are telling them there is another way. But I think that's all coming to a close here real soon. You know, unfortunately, we're out of time. You know, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, and I guess we can give your website out real quick before we close to make sure people can contact you for further information.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure, and I hope that I can get out there next summer with my family on a family vacation, because it seems like such a wonderful place, and I would really like to go and meet you. My website is www.thesolsociety.com. That's thesoulsociety.com. And there is a small project that I had hoped would have grown a little faster, but it's called the Soul Project, where a few people have just offered their services just as a gift. If you want to exchange something of your own, that's fine, but there are a few people on the website. One individual does astrology readings, numerology readings. Another individual does remote healing, and from what I understand, she's very, very good. And all these people are doing is offering what they have. They're not asking for anything in return. So if you get time, check it out, because they understand how important it is to be of service and just give. And they're really wonderful people.
All right. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, and we'll have to do it again real soon.
That would be great. Thank you, James. Have a wonderful evening.
All right. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.